Today we will be talking about configuration tables with the Lego project. I'm going to start with a sketch on the front plane of the basic shape of the brick of a Lego. I will extrude the block or the sketch to create the basic shape of the Lego. Now, when you're using configuration tables, you will end up using a linear pattern quite a bit. One thing we need to do before we make our first stud on the top here is to shell out the bottom. You want to shell before you add the studs or the bumps on the top. Our shell distance is 1.2. Now I can choose that top surface, start a sketch. Remember that all the dimensions are standardized, so these distances are the same with all Lego pieces that will fit with each other. Now, you may be tempted to create a linear sketch pattern with that circle, but you do not want to do that. You want to extrude that circle (1.8) and then use the feature linear pattern. So I'll choose linear pattern, and with that I need to tell SolidWorks what directions we want to move. So I want to move to the right and down. So I'm going to choose this edge as my direction 1. I'm going to choose this edge as direction 2. You can look at the arrows and it will tell you which way it's going to pattern. So obviously this one I'm going to click it so that it's pointing down instead of up. Next I will choose my spacing. The spacing between studs is always 8 millimeters. So I'll change both of those to 8. And then the number of instances will be 4 and 2. And then I need to actually tell SolidWorks, well, what do I want to pattern? And I'm going to click on the stud itself, and it will create those. Okay. Now on the bottom, I'm going to create the holes. And those are, again, so on that surface, I'm going to create a sketch. I'm going to draw a circle that is concentric with the studs. Has a diameter of 2.6. And again, do not pattern the actual circle. You want to pattern the feature. And so I'm going to take that circle and I'm going to cut it 1.7 deep. And then I will pattern that circle. Since I had it highlighted before, it's going to automatically select that feature, which is fine. Again, I need to choose my direction, so I'm going to choose 2 edges and click OK. Now lastly, I'm going to use that sketch surface again to create the bosses that are at the bottom. My first dimension that I'm going to place is this, and that will be 31.8 divided by 4. which ends up being 7.95. 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 space. That'd be 15.8 divided by 2, 7.9. So now the sketch is fully defined. I can extrude that sketch. Now, when you want to use the configuration table, and maybe you want to make a flat type of Lego with this configuration, this boss is going to be extruded so that it's even with this surface. If we were to just enter a distance and we change this to a flat, this distance would stay the same. So instead of entering a distance, I'm going to use up to surface and choose that surface to extrude to. So now those two are linked always. And again, I will use my linear pattern. And this time, since I'm only going to be patterning in one axis, I'm just going to choose that edge as my reference line. And I do not want 4, I want 3, and click OK. So now we have a completed 2x4 Lego brick that will be our standard part. And so I'm going to save this as not 2x1, but 2x Lego brick. So now we can use configuration tables to make this any length we want. And we could also make it flat. Now, can we take this and turn it into a 1x3? No. Well, we could, but it would be a lot of work, and it would just be easier to start with a simple 1x2 and use configuration tables in that part to create a 1x3, a 1x4, etc. So to start with configuration tables, you have to think about, well, what do you want to alter? What dimensions need to change? And what instances need to change? Like if you're going to have a 2x5, then there needs to be 2 more studs out here, and the whole thing needs to get longer. And you're going to add 1 more of these bosses at the bottom, and you're going to add 2 more of these recess cuts. So you have to think about, well, what controls those? Well, obviously the whole length of the Lego is in the sketch. You can see that dimension 31.8. The patterns are what you want to select now. So I'm going to control click the sketch and all 3 of my patterns. And I'm going to right click and go to configure feature. You may get an error message here. Just click OK and ignore it. So now it is added in the linear pattern, linear pattern, linear pattern, and the sketch. So if I hit the down arrow here, I'm going to choose all 4 dimensions there that we can alter. Now, right now, this is our default part name. Our default configuration is the 2x4. So if we want to make a new one, we need to click here, create a new configuration. So let's make a 2x6. Okay, and when we do that, we want to enter a name for this table. So I'm going to call this thing a 2x Lego brick. I'm going to save that table view. I'm going to click apply over here. Now, the 2x6, so pattern 1 is our very first, we're patterning the studs. So if we're making a 2x6, we need to change that 4 to a 6. Linear pattern 2 are the recess cuts underneath, and so we need to change that to a 6. Linear pattern 3 are the boss underneath. We're going to change that to 5. And then we need to change the distance. So we're going to add an extra distance here to make this the correct length, which should be 47.6. Apply, make sure you save, and click OK. Now, if we go to the third tab along our design tree, you can see now there's our extra configuration. Here's our default, and if we double click 2x6, we now have a 2x6 Lego brick that we can use in an assembly. So we have actually two parts within a part. All right, now, well, what if you want to make more? You want to make a 2x3, a 2x8, etc. Instead of going to your design tree and control clicking all those things again, we already have them in the design table, which is in your configurations tab. So I can open up the tables folder, double click 2x Lego brick, and again that error message will pop up. But now if I want to add a new configuration, I can just click in that create a new configuration, and let's call it a 2x3. Make sure to always save the table view. Apply, save, OK. And so for a 2x3, we do not want 6 studs across the top. We only would want 3. Our linear pattern underneath is our recess cut. So we'll want 3 of those. We will actually have 2 of the bosses underneath, and our length is not going to be 47.6. It is going to be 8 less, so that's going to be 31.8 minus 8, so that would be 23.8. Oh, excuse me, it'd be 7.9, so that'd be 23.9. So save, apply, OK. And now we have the 2x3. And we can see that it is now a 2x3. So now we have 3 different parts in our single 2x Lego brick part.